Good afternoon. Before I call this meeting to order, I will note for the record that I will serve as acting chair for today's meeting. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York Transportation Development Corporation for Thursday, October 20th, 2022. I'd like to note for the record that this meeting is being webcast and that we welcome public comment on the items on our agenda. I will also note for the record the public has been given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments to nytdc@esd.ny.gov by 12 p.m. yesterday, and no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. The directors have received the relevant materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has a potential conflict of interest with respect to today's agenda items. If so, please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We will then be sure that you may recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to the item. Hearing none, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the directors' meetings of February 24th, 2022 and April 11th, 2022. Are there any questions, comments, additions, or deletions? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second? Here. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No response noted. Thank you. The motion carries. I would like now to ask Miyoko Okubo to present the next item on today's agenda, a request for an appointment of an officer of the corporation. Miyoko, when you're ready, please begin.
Good afternoon, and thank you. The officer position of Chief Financial Officer of the corporation is currently vacant. As a matter of corporate housekeeping and to ensure that the corporation has a complement of officers at any given time who can execute required documentation on the corporation's behalf, it is recommended that Raymond Orlando be appointed to the corporation as the Chief Financial Officer. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item? Are there any comments from the public with regard to this item? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Okay. Second. Here. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no response. Thank you. The motion carries. I would like now to ask Matthew Bray to present the next item on today's agenda, a request for authorization to perform certain acts in connection with the sale and delivery of the corporation's special facilities bonds, Senior Series 2022A, tax exempt AMT, and take other related actions related to JFK Airport Terminal 6-7 redevelopment project.
Thank you. Good afternoon, directors. Today, we are asking the board to approve the operative provisions, sale terms, bond purchase agreement, related documents, and related actions in connection with the sale and delivery of the New York Transportation Development Corporation, which we refer to as the corporation, special facilities bonds, Senior Series 2022A, tax exempt AMT, JFK Airport Terminal 6-7 redevelopment project, or the bonds. The operative provisions, terms, related documents, and related actions in connection with the incurrence of senior secured taxable term loans and security deposit loans, together referred to as the senior loans, and with the bonds will be the loan facility, to be issued for the benefit of JFK Millennium Partners, LLC, or the borrower. At the April 11 meeting, the board took certain actions relating to the project, including the adoption of a resolution providing for the preparation of documents related to the issuance of one or more series of tax-exempt bonds. It was contemplated that such bonds be issued in a public offering pursuant to an official statement. It has now been determined that the corporation will issue one series of tax-exempt, variable rate drawdown bonds in an amount not to exceed $435 million. The bonds will be issued in a private placement pursuant to the bond purchase agreement between the corporation, the underwriter, and the purchaser, all as described in the authoring resolution for you to adopt today. Additionally, since the prior meeting, the transaction has evolved to include $3 billion in taxable senior term loans and security deposit loans, referred to collectively as the senior loans. The senior loans will be loaned to the corporation by the lenders pursuant to the credit agreement. The corporation will then loan the proceeds of the senior loans to the borrower pursuant to the TDC loan agreements, all as indicated in the authorizing resolution. The borrower has entered into certain swap agreements with respect to the bonds and senior loans. However, the corporation will not be a party to any swap agreements. The borrower has requested that the corporation issue the loan facility to provide funds to, 1, pay costs and reimburse the borrower for costs paid pre-issuance relating to demolition of the existing Terminal 7, the design, construction, operation, and equipping of a new Terminal 6 head house and departure and arrivals area, and the design and construction of related facilities. 2, to pay a portion of the interest on the loan facility. 3, to pay a premium for one or more bond insurance policies or reserve fund sureties for the loan facility. 4, to fund one or more debt service reserve funds and other reserve funds for the loan facility. And 5, to pay costs of issuance related to the loan facility. The bonds will be issued and secured under the TDC Master Bond Indenture of Trust as supplemented by the TDC First Supplemental Bond Indenture of Trust by and between the corporation and the Bank of New York Mellon as trustee. Pursuant to the credit agreement between the corporation, the borrower, ING Capital LLC as administrative agent, Key Bank, MUFG Bank, ING Capital, Standard Chartered Bank, Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, and the Bank of Nova Scotia as lenders, and MUFG Bank as the security deposit issuing bank. Together, the bank lenders. The bank lenders will agree upon execution thereof to make the senior loans. For the administration of certain funds and accounts, the corporation will enter into a collateral agency and accounts agreement with the borrower, the Bank of New York Mellon as the senior collateral agent, the trustee, the administrative agent, the Bank of New York Mellon as intercreditor agent, the Bank of New York Mellon as securities intermediary, and the Bank of New York Mellon as the deposit account bank. The corporation will execute and deliver a common terms agreement among the corporation, the borrower, the administrative agent, the intercreditor agent, the senior collateral agent, Royal Bank of Canada as the Series 2022A bondholder, and the bank lenders, pursuant to which the parties have agreed to the terms and conditions for the issuance of the loan facility. As security for the payment of the borrower's obligations under the loan agreements in the 2022 TDC notes, the borrower will grant to the corporation and the senior collateral agent a leasehold mortgage on the borrower's leasehold interest. The bonds will be further secured by certain monies and securities held by the trustee under the indenture. The corporation is a mortgagee to secure an exemption from the mortgage recording tax, and pursuant to the issuer assignment agreements will assign its interest in the leasehold mortgages to the senior collateral agent. The corporation will assign its right, title, and interest under the loan agreements and the 2022 TDC notes to the senior collateral agent as security for the loan facility. In order to further secure its obligations under the loan agreements and leasehold mortgages, the borrower will grant an assignment of tenant leases and rents to the corporation and the senior collateral agent. The bonds in his senior loans are special limited revenue obligations of the corporation and are not payable from or secured by any property of the corporation other than the trust estate pledged under the indenture. The bonds in senior loans are not a debt of the state of New York, the New York Job Development Authority, the JDA, the New York State Urban Development Corporation, or ESD, or any other local development corporation, agency, or authority of the state, and none of these entities shall be liable on the bonds or the senior loans. The borrower has agreed to indemnify the corporation, the state, JDA, and ESD against certain liabilities or to contribute to any payments required to be made by the corporation relating to such liabilities. The corporation has completed an environmental review of the project in conjunction with the other components of the JFK redevelopment program. Based on the review, staff recommends that the corporation make a determination of no significant effect on the environment with respect to the project. As part of the transaction, the corporation will enter into the RBC bond purchase agreement by and between the corporation, RBC Capital Markets as underwriter, Royal Bank of Canada as purchaser, and the borrower for the sale by the corporation and purchase by the underwriter of the bonds on a drawdown basis. Upon each purchase of bonds, the underwriter shall transfer the bonds to the purchaser. The corporation is being asked to delegate authority to its officers to improve the maturities, prices, yields, and other terms of the bonds. The bonds are expected to be issued as tax-exempt, variable rate drawdown bonds and will be subject to optional and mandatory redemption in whole or in part at the option of the borrower. In order to finance certain project costs, the borrower has requested the bank lenders in the corporation enter into the credit agreement providing for the senior loans, the proceeds of which will be loaned by the corporation to the borrower in accordance with the loan agreements. In accordance with the attached resolution, you are hereby requested to, 1, make a determination of no significant effect on the environment. 2, authorize the inducement of the project and declaration of the official intent of the corporation to provide funds for the reimbursement of pre-issuance expenditures for the project. 3, approve the terms and authorize the sale of the bonds. 4, approve the terms and authorize the incurrence by the corporation of the senior loans. 5, approve the form and content of the RBC bond purchase agreement and various other documents connected with the sale and delivery of the bonds and senior loans. And 6, authorize certain officers and employees of the corporation to take all actions deemed necessary to accomplish the final sale and delivery of the bonds and incur the senior loans. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Matthew. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item?
Just a quick question, Matt, and you may have covered it in your great presentation. If I believe when this came to the board at first, it was contemplated it was going to be a full deal of bonds, right? We were going to issue bonds, and now it's a combination, right? Loans and bonds. The economic environment, the economic climate has made that change at this point.
That is the reason, yeah, the bond market, with interest rates going up, it's become harder for them to sell the bonds in a public offering. So there's going to be a private placement and a bank facility.
Great, thanks, Matt.
I was going to ask you, maybe related. I heard two numbers as we went through. One was 435 million. The other was 3 billion. Can you just explain the relevance to the 435? Identify what it is for me again.
Okay,
And
the 400,
if it fits within the 3 billion.
right? The 435 million are the bonds that are going to be purchased by RBC in a private placement.
Yeah.
And the $3 billion is the bank loan facility, of which there are 6 banks participating.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Well,
Are any comments from the public with regard to this item? I will now entertain a motion for approval on this item.
So moved.
Second, here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no response. Thank you. The motion carries. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Noted. Thank you for your participation in today's meeting.